Welcome to Chosen, and I have Rebekah with me today. Rebekah, it's such a joy to meet you. I felt your frequency on Substack, and I felt we have to talk and connect. And I've been choosing this topic today of just, self-love and celebrating yourself and choosing yourself. But before we dive into that, Rebekah, can you tell us shortly who you are and what you do so the audience understands that?
Yes, my name is Rebekah Pierce, and I am a writer, a teacher, and advocate for women, and a veteran of the United States military. And my work on Substack is primarily under what I call the Lemonade Mindset. And
Mhm.
I've recently kind of rebranded it to be all encompassing of the things that I do. I also own a bakery. I love food, so I have a foodie podcast, and I'm launching a bookstore and a physical bookstore in about 2 years. So I've rebranded it and named it the Nourishment Collective, and it's all about
Mhm.
empowering and uplifting and supporting women, moving us from a negative mindset to a faith-based lemonade mindset. So
Mhm.
I'm all about creating opportunities and spaces for women and men, but my focus is primarily women
Mhm.
to tap into healing, tap into self love, because much of what we experience in our lives, it should be leading us to that clarity and understanding about this is a journey that we are all supposed to take, but there are lessons to learn at the end of it. And what are those lessons?
Wow, you have a new fan. Definitely. I mean, I already so enjoyed your posts and your notes throughout the day and this energy that you're just sharing with everyone. But now I am so impressed of everything that you're building. And you know what I love, and I think it connects both of us, is this you have this bookshop, you have this bakery, you're
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
for me, you also feel like a mentor and a coach. Yeah. So I feel like I'm also an actress. I'm also a coach, business coach, life coach. So I'm doing many different things. I'm writing on Substack, and I
Right.
love to meet women like that. But you know what it also tells me is actually you really love yourself because you're giving
Yes.
yourself these opportunities
Right.
to spread your wings in many different colorful ways in this life, in your
Mhm.
lifetime, which shows me how much you appreciate and love yourself. Can you tell me about that? And was it always like that?
No.
No, of course not.
No. This took a minute, even with rebranding what I all that I do under the umbrella of the Nourishment Collective. That took years to get to, because for a long time I struggled with being able to name what it is exactly that I do, because
Hmm.
one of the things about being an entrepreneur or businesswoman, especially in the United States, is that people tell you you have to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
But I believe that we come here with many gifts, and it is the question of how to manage those gifts and how each one is in support of the main gift. My big gift is education, it's enlightenment, and it's care. But I love to bake. I love to talk about food. I love books. I'm an English teacher. So of course I love literature. I teach writing. I'm an editor. And it was like, I'm a playwright and a novelist. So it was like, well, how do I
Yeah.
explain all these things that I do? And I struggled for years trying to not be ashamed of the fact that I can do more than one thing.
Oh
And
my
then to
God,
be
this
able,
is legendary.
yeah,
And
to be able
that
to
you
explain it.
express that it's the
Yeah.
shame
Without people
because
saying, girl, you're doing too much. Sometimes I think, especially,
absolutely.
men,
I
you're doing too
recognize
much.
it. And I love that you call it out as shame
Yes.
because there's the social norm. And by the way, we have it in Europe as well, the same.
Yes. Yes.
Imagine like especially German, I'm German, all the structured German people.
Right.
And like, okay, what are
Right.
you doing? You're doing all these creative things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Get a
you
job, make money. And it's like,
exactly. And also there is
counter.
this,
Yes.
I think there's a bit of disbelief for people. Does that really work? I mean, they don't really
Right.
believe it because that's not really what's being sold to them on a daily
Right.
basis, right?
But especially when you have a family. I mean, I heard, I was married to someone who was trying to really silence my voice under the auspices of, you need to bring in a certain amount of income because you have children and you got to take care of this household. And, at one point he told me I needed to stop writing. And I was brutally honest with him. And I said, if I stop writing, you won't be here no more, because writing is who I am. It's how I express what it is that I feel, what's on my heart, where I need to go. Writing
Mhm.
has saved my life in so many moments. And I mean that both literally and metaphorically. So for
Wow.
me to let go of the pen is for me to no longer exist. And I refuse to give anyone that power. So that shame was it was a real test of how do I come through this, and do I love this person more and want to go with what they're telling me, which I know instinctively is not the truth of my existence,
Yeah.
or do I take this risk and stand on the outside and love myself enough to give myself this opportunity to stand and live in my gifts, no matter what they are, and then, be grateful for this opportunity. So I chose me. He's gone.
Yes, yes.
I
Oh my
chose
God.
me.
Yeah. I mean, this is
But
a
it took a
very,
long time. That was not easy. I paid a price for it. I
mm,
talk about that in my Substacks. You see my work.
yeah,
I talk about the price that I have paid to
yeah.
be authentically me, to love me more. I've lost custody of my daughter. I've lost homes. I've,
Mm.
lost income. But at the end of the day, I would rather be where I'm at right now than to be in a situation still where I don't get to live, where
Rebecca,
I
it
don't get
was
to
so
to
deeply
thrive.
powerful. I'm just so
Yeah.
grateful for your sharing. And, when I created my Substack 2 months ago, I wanted to go a step further and talk about legacy. I'm
Hmm.
building legacy with my client and I'm building my own legacy. And it's exactly what you said, because all that I know has come with a
Hmm.
price of loss and grief and
Hmm.
pain. And I think that's what building a legacy is about. And that's what, when you talk about also stepping into your faith, is that living your purpose is not easy. Living
Yeah.
your purpose is not pain free. And I
Mm-mm.
believe in God. So I
Yes.
say that God is giving me all of these big and small
Yeah.
stones to step and climb over and fall over,
Yeah.
because he wants me to build that resilience that I need
Exactly.
to step
Yes.
into my purpose and
Hmm.
heal the world and help the world to an extent that my
Hmm.
old self wouldn't have even been possible.
Right. It needs you to shine. I mean, that is the whole purpose. Like I said, one of the biggest understandings about being here is that there's a purpose for your life.
Mm.
And, how do you tap into it? This is what I talk to my students about. I'm retraining my writing students, my English course students, on how to understand their existence, because I recognize there's a gap between when they get out of high school and when they come to
Yes.
college. And what the gap is they have no clue who they are, and they don't know how to start finding that out. You go from indoctrination to suddenly being able to think on your own. Well,
Yeah.
many students get lost in that. And what I have found is the thing that has enabled me to step into what God has for me is to understand that I have to create a space for me to exist. And that space is in this thing called the mind,
Mm.
the head.
Yeah.
Because again, scripture even tells you, so as a man thinketh in his heart, so as he is. And so, how do you begin to live out what you know you are called to be? You got to retrain the way you think. So, my practice with my students comes from the practice that I started doing for myself, which is I fill my mind each morning when I wake up. You have two choices. We only come
Yeah.
to earth with two emotions:
Oof.
fear and love. So I teach my students, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing on your mind, is it gratitude or grievance? Because whichever one you pick, that's how
Yeah.
your day's gonna go.
That's
And so it's
exactly what I'm saying. It's
exactly
exactly
so
what I'm doing.
getting you to think about how you're thinking,
Yes.
what you're thinking. So we begin with that breath. We begin with taking two breaths together as a collective, because I need you to understand your role in humanity. So we begin with breath. That's how I begin every morning.
Mm.
And then we move in for my students. After we do our breath together, we move into free writing. So 5 minutes thinking about your own existence. And it doesn't even have to make sense. It could be one word, it could be a doodle, it could be a picture. I don't care. But for
Yeah.
5 minutes, it's just you and the
Yeah.
paper, because you're creating sacred space for yourself to be grounded, to learn how to build on that grounding, that foundation. And then after we do our free write, we go into affirmations.
Mm.
And it's important to understand what affirmations can do for you. They're just not
Yes,
words you're
yes.
saying.
I'm all about that. I'm all about it.
Right?
I'm like,
All
they
about that.
rewire your brain, they reprogram
Yes.
your cells, they build new neuronal pathways in your
Yes.
brain of thinking and behaving. They create a new you. They're
And
that
it
powerful. And I
allows,
think, they have been
yes.
actually so downgraded
Mhm.
within public media. But whereas they're so powerful, I just published a post about mirror work. So that's basically
Yes.
speaking the affirmations out loud
Yes.
in the mirror, looking at yourself. So I do
And
both.
retraining yourself. Yes. So
I do
not, so
both. I
not,
say affirmations
and
and
then
I do
you,
my mirror work extra. So I look in the
exactly.
mirror, I
Hmm.
smile at myself, I say it, I look into my own eyes, I say,
Yes.
you're the one, I'm the love of my
Yes.
life, baby,
There
right?
you
It's like,
go.
yeah,
You
that's the
have to do
energy.
that. And people
Yeah.
think, oh, that doesn't work. Yes, it does.
Oh, it
Because
does.
you're retraining the way you think. And where success comes from, where joy comes from, where happiness comes from, where healing comes from. A lot of the work that you're doing, that I'm doing, is healing the little girl that was broken.
Mm,
I come from a difficult background. And that little girl, she has never left me. Almost everything that I've done in my life, it's in response to what happened to her. And so when I began to retrain the way that I think, when I began this work in mindset growth and development, eliminate mindset, it was because that little girl in me was hurting still. And I couldn't show up and be authentically me without acknowledging that I'm still that poor little Black girl from Stockton, California, who was told she's never going to be anything at 12 by her own
ooh.
father, and then
Let's
told
make a
that again at
break.
16.
This is breakthrough. let's
Break,
let's stop
yes,
let's stop here because this is breakthrough, because what you're saying is I think that's the key. We gotta sit down for a moment and
yes,
acknowledge exactly that. Okay, I'm still acting from my broken little girl. I've been
yes.
acting so far, and now I
Mhm.
have to pull the brakes and acknowledge this towards myself, because I love myself and I want more for myself. I want better for myself. I know more is possible, but I
Right. And
have
you
to
can't love
acknowledge that.
others. Yeah, you cannot say that you love someone if you don't first acknowledge the love you have for self. You're a
Mm,
hypocrite. If you don't love yourself, if you don't give yourself the best opportunities, if you don't acknowledge that shame, that trauma of your existence, and work to heal it, change the way you think and speak about yourself, then you cannot give to others what you do not have to give
yeah.
for self. And that is such a hard thing for people to embrace, because I was told at one point that if you give me what I want first, then maybe I'll love you.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Love is
how,
conditional. No,
that's exactly how so many
exactly.
women and girls grow up. It's like, be the nice girl, do
Yes. Don't
well.
rock the boat. Right. Give him what
No.
he wants. It's about having that warm body next to you at night. And I have come to learn at
Mhm.
52 that is the greatest lie,
Yeah.
the greatest lie to womanhood. And I believe it grieves God so deeply to see us lost to that lie that the world has tried to tell us is our reality. I do not believe that. I do not accept it anymore. But it took me 45 years to get to that understanding that God didn't bring me here to carry other people's crosses.
No.
I have to deal with my own. I have to let my own light shine no matter what anybody thinks. That's why one of my affirmation statements is I am unapologetically resilient, and I will let my light shine so that I may thrive
Mm.
bravely in my well being.
Um,
But
that's it. That's
that's not
it.
easy
Oh
though, right?
my God. Oh my God. Rebekah, so oh my God, I'm so inspired. You're deeply inspiring and powerful. And to end this or round up this amazing conversation that could go
Mm-hmm.
for hours,
Hours.
I want to ask you, I want to ask you one thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to tell a woman on her path to break free, on her path to her legacy and her purpose? Maybe, at a place where she's doubting, where she's struggling, what would you tell her?
I would tell her something I learned a year ago when I was sitting in a courtroom listening to another white male judge tell me I was nothing. Uh, tell me I was nothing. And that is that God did not bring you this far to leave you. And He has not left. God has not left you. God is in the room because God comes in with you, because God is in you. And when you're sitting at that moment, when you've come to that crossroad where you are uncertain or unsure, or feel like you cannot do it, or that God has left you, I need you to stop, close your eyes, take a deep breath, go into that sacred space, and look for God in the room. Look for God in the room because God is always there. You just have to want to see Him there, right? And that is the hardest thing. But you've got to hold on to that faith. God has not left you.
No.
You just need to open up your eyes. It is never going to look like what we as humans want it to look like because we're
Yes.
human,
Yes.
right? And that is what faith is. Faith is seeing with the unseen eye, right? It's holding on to hope. And that is the biggest message I give to women. Don't lose your hope. Tap into your faith. Go into that sacred space and look for God in the room. What people can say whatever they want to say about you, but whose report will you believe? Man or God's?
I love that, Rebekah. That's going to be the title of our conversation. Look for God in the room.
Yes,
I love that.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Rebekah, for your time and
Welcome.
your wisdom. It's so
Absolutely.
precious to us, and I'm excited what's going to be the feedback from the community. I hope you leave some comments here and likes. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Rebekah.
You're
Stay
welcome.
blessed.